Hey champ,
Hello, how are
how
we?
good how good does that sound? Hey champ.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Obviously, um, to fulfill a lifelong sort of dream and a childhood dream is very, very special,
And that behind you there is the trophy itself. You haven't let it out of your sight, I guess, since
No,
Saturday afternoon. Let's have a look.
that's it. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, obviously it's just brilliant to bring that home on Saturday, and to all the team at Lodge Hill. Um, they played such a massive part the whole way through, and obviously led at the top by my brother Dan. Without him, it wouldn't have happened.
It's been quite striking how you've been very keen to obviously mention Dan, obviously mention your dad as well, but some of the other guys who've supported you closely. You've talked a lot about the assistant trainer Tom Messenger and about your sort of manager agent Ian Popham as well, and about the rest of the team. So everyone always says it's a team effort, but you've been very keen to emphasise, it really is.
Yeah, massively. Obviously, I've been going out there in the afternoons and riding them and winning on them, but it takes it takes a lot to get them there. From the mornings, riding them out, feeding them, getting them on the lorry, travelling them to the races. Our travelling head staff, Hannah and Phil Hayward, they've done amazing job all year, driving all the miles that I do and more. Um, and it takes an awful lot to get there. The fact that the horses have been in such fantastic form the whole year is just a credit to them, really. And everyone at Lodge Hill's played their part, and you know, um, it's a bit different for me, I suppose, being the stable jockey that I'm here every day, in the office first thing at 6:45 with Dan and our assistant, as you mentioned, Tom Messenger, head lad Tolly Dean, and our other senior staff. Put our heads together and make a plan for the day, and then normally myself and Dan or Tom are off racing. Um, but I brought it back on Saturday for everyone.
And for your wife Bridget as well, who's very much part of the team. I guess, as wives always do on these occasions, partners always do on these occasions, she sort of lived the last few weeks, practically cleared the jumps with you, because she's been so close to it.
Yeah, massively. They always say behind every good sportsman there's a good woman, and like it's so true. The whole way through. Um, Bridget, when I come home, is always very realistic, and if anything hasn't quite gone to plan, she knows how to deal with it, and soon moves on from it. Once the doors closed, that's it. It's nothing you can do. It's gone, and you move on. And yeah, the last few weeks been very obviously very tense, and probably more tense for her than anything. I think in the end she ended up not watching the races, and just looking at the results. But no, it's been
Is that
amazing the
you
whole way
joking,
through.
or is that genuinely true that she just didn't want to watch?
Yeah, I think in the end she said, "Oh no, I didn't watch them. I just saw the results, just flicking on results." She's still got plenty to do. Like you say, she's a massive part of the team. She's got two show jumpers out there, and she very much loves doing them, and plenty of other things to be doing as well. So she's always busy.
And she rode 14 winners this season. Not her most ever, but still plenty of good winners, and in fact has received plenty of praise for one particular rider I remember at Ascot. But generally, so it is striking how much she is part of the whole team.
Yeah, very much so. It's sort of well out there that whatever I don't ride, Bridget does ride, and that's how it's been. And again, that comes back to Dan, to have that loyalty and support. That's how it is, and we're here every day riding them, schooling them. If I go off racing a little earlier, Bridget can carry on with any schooling that needs to be done, and she's a very good rider in her own right, very good horsewoman. Has a fantastic feeling for a horse. Very sympathetic with it as well. And yeah, the ride at Ascot on Robin Gold was something that I'm not sure I could do. And it takes a lot of confidence, and a lot of skill to deliver what she delivered. People might look back on that and go, oh, why was she so cool on it? Why didn't she go earlier? Or, the thing is, Robin Gold, as soon as you put any pressure on her, she actually goes slower, and you just have to, with proper kid gloves, just kid her into the race and smuggle her around and let her know that she's not even in a race. And I think that ride at Ascot has to be one of the ride of the seasons for me. I know I may be biased, but I think a lot of people think that as well. And she had 14 winners this season. She had a Grade 2 winner to her name. She's played a massive part, and she really enjoys it. And she doesn't have an agent, or she doesn't take any outside rides really. She just rides for Dan and what she's happy to ride.
Two more quick questions about Bridget before we move on. One is, if she was asked to assess you over the last couple of weeks, as it has, as you put it, been quite tense, how do you think she'd sum it up and indeed you up over the last 2 or 3 weeks when it got quite tight between you and Brian Hughes?
That's a good question, I suppose. I'd like to think that she knows me well enough that I'm pretty determined. Once I was, the closer I was getting, the more I wanted it. I'd definitely say I'm pretty determined, and that's definitely one thing that would probably stand out. But yeah, I mean, it at times it was tense as well. I think hopefully she certainly helped me handle it all very well. Anyway, I think. We were all determined to get there.
You said determined, you said tense. Ever grumpy when things hadn't been going right?
No, I don't think you've got time to be grumpy, have you, really? You're on to the next one. It's gone. You move on. You try and win on the next one.
I think people are always fascinated as well when partners are taking each other on in a competitive situation. So when you're in a race and Bridget's in a race, you're competing against each other, but your partners as well. So how does that work out?
It's not very often that we both in the same race, because normally Bridget would be at the other meeting and I'd be somewhere else. So not very often are we in the same race, but yeah, it's competitive. Once that tape goes up, Cornelius, that's it. We both want to win. She's a winner, I'm a winner, and we haven't ever had actually a ding dong battle up the straight and from the back of the last. But one of the days that will always stand out for me was when she won on my high at Cheltenham. I think I was sixth in the county hurdle when she won it, and that was I'm very, very proud of what she did that day, and it was a day that I'll always remember.
Yeah, I'm just imagining what a ding-dong battle between the partners through the closing stages of a race would be like. You must have imagined what it would be like. How do you think it would pan out?
Probably I'd probably be in front up the running somewhere, and she'd probably come late and just nab me on the line, and then probably never let me ever forget it. That's normally what she'd do, but she's fairly determined herself and pretty fierce as well when you get on the wrong side of her. That's probably how it would pan out. I'd certainly give it my all anyway to the line.
Maybe that's something to look forward to in the 2021-22 season. It would be great to see. You talked about the fact you have achieved with that trophy behind you a childhood ambition. People have talked about, I think your dad, Nick, has talked about you on the sofa, on an armchair, on a stool or whatever, as a very young boy, sort of trying to emulate whoever was riding on the television. Paint us a little bit of a picture of what that might have looked like.
Well, yeah, I mean, racing's always, and horses have always been in our lives from day one. Obviously, they were there. Dad, when we grew up, Dad show jumping, but we've always had racehorses about as well. And Dad had a few pointers, and he used to train a horse called Carrots. Won quite a lot of points. My uncle used to ride him, and Dad also had a good mare with the late David Nicholson, the Duke. She actually won the Grade 1 Henry VIII, a mare called Certainly Strong. and so racing was always right at the front of show jumping as well. Almost they were up there together. And Dad wanted to be a jockey himself, but just show jumping, success when he was younger just took him. That was it. He never looked back. The success took him that way. But yeah, I mean, we used to have the stalls in the kitchen at Sandal House Farm where I was brought up in Lowsonford, Warwickshire, and I'd pop the racing saddle on top of the stool, put my crash hat on with my colours. I used to have a jumper made, and they were silks and blue and green, if I remember rightly. I used to put it up there in the afternoons and get the stick out, and off we'd go. We'd ride every race there was to watch on the TV. And if I wasn't careful, I was a bit over the front. Sometimes you'd often come out the front of the stool and end up on the floor. So I took a few falls as well when I was a bit younger. But no, that's just how it was, really. I just loved that competitive, the race, if you like.
I'm loving that thought of Harry Skelton, aged 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, falling off the stool in his silks and I guess picking himself up and brushing himself straight down. So great foundations for the future.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you fell off, you get back on. That's how it was. Yeah.
And a striking quote from you recently, you said, ever since those sort of days, it's been about winning. That's been our life, all we've ever known, wanting to win. So that is your sort of philosophy, if you like, is it?
It is, yeah. I mean, maybe people find that hard to sort of understand, but the environment that I was brought up in and Dan was brought up in was that it was sport, and it was, it was competition. It was, Dad was out there to win. That was his job. His job was to win, not to show jump. The job, it was, if you weren't winning, you weren't doing your job properly, or you know what I mean. It was a fail. He didn't have a 9-to-5 job, or after work he used to go and come back at 6 o'clock. It was that's just how it was. It was competing and winning. Like, if you didn't win, then you failed, really. That was, the job wasn't done.
And another strand to this whole story that I'm very struck by is that here you are riding 152 winners and Champion Jockey. And only as recently as the 2012-13 season, I think it was, you rode 8 winners only, strike rate of 5%, and things weren't really going very well. So you have had your own sort of mountain to climb from that situation only a few years ago to now having that trophy behind you on the shelf.
Yeah, one season riding 8 winners, it was hard, it was difficult, and it was after I lost my claim. Wasn't the following year. The following year, I think I rode 31 in the first season out my claim, and then after that, it was a struggle. I suppose you don't have the experience and the strength that you have as you grow older, and Paul Nicholls always told me that. And then you're up against his stable jockey, Ruby Walsh, at the time, who we don't need, it needs no explanation of how good he was. And it was so hard to compete against him and other top jockeys as well. And Paul always said Rome wasn't built in a day. And he was right. And as much as I wanted it, I couldn't understand why it wasn't happening. But yeah, I mean, I left Paul's, and then I was driving up and down the country for people that had supported me through my claim, and just trying to basically get as many rides and as winners as I could. But yeah, your statistics there are something that hopefully well in the past now, and well behind me. And you say about a mountain to climb. I got a very nice message off Sir Alex Ferguson recently, and Sir Alex has horses in the yard with us, with the Hales family, and with Jed Mason as well. And he texted me and he said he used to tell his players that there was a mountain, and the mountain was there to be climbed. They climbed the mountain, and when they got to the top of the mountain, the view was amazing, and the idea was to stay up there and never to come back down that mountain. And that's the hardest bit. So yeah, I mean, to achieve the dream, to get up that mountain, to lift the trophy, you want to stay up there, and that he's very, very right in what he said, and hopefully I can keep on top of that mountain.
And Dan has been particularly prolific. I think his first season was 2013-14, and the prolific nature of Dan, his operation, which you're very much part of as well. How would you sum up what the operation has achieved since 2013-14? I think the first season, 26 winners, now nearly 150 this particular season.
Yeah, I mean, we started with 12 horses, and that's I mean, we suddenly got to 25 to 40 to 60 to 100, and now we're up to about 140 horses, and that only comes from determination, and winners and supportive owners. And Dan was always, once he gets his mind set on something, he normally achieves it. And he at the front of the ship, he drives it, and we're all led by him. And he's so driven in what he wants to succeed. I mean, the one year he trained 200 and, I want to get this right, he trained 206 or 211 winners. Only the second ever trainer to do that since Martin Pipe. And not many people have trained 100 winners in a season. But to train 200 is, I mean, it was an unbelievable feat, really. But you have to have a lot of determination to do that, and a lot of organisation, and a lot of hours to put in, and hard work. The wheel there at Lodge Hill, it is turning, but you need to make it turn, and there's a lot of cogs in there that make it turn, and you can't fall off the wheel. You've got to make sure it keeps going round, and it's simple. You have to get up in the morning and get out there and work and get things right and move on from the bad times, and learn from your mistakes. And I think since we started out, I think Paul Nicholls, when we went to there, it was all about winning and succeeding and improving, and that's hopefully what we're doing here at Lodge Hill.
And people would be interested to know that you're obviously stable jockey, but you're there at 6:45 in the morning. Now, my thought about stable jockeys is that the trainer and his assistants are probably there first thing, making plans, feeding horses, but stable jockeys come swanning in about 7:30, 7:45, cup of coffee, and ride a couple of horses in the gallops. That's obviously not you. So what is your role, if I can say so, apart from being stable jockey?
Yeah, that's the thing. I really don't feel like when I really don't just feel like I'm just a jockey that goes to races and rides and goes home. And I feel like here it's just like I am a big part of the team, and I'm proud to be part of that team. So I get in the morning, normally around 6:45, between 6:30, 6:45. Don't need an alarm. I'm up and I'm ready. I'm going, and that's been drilled into us from a very young age from Dad, and that's how Dad was. That was like his apprenticeship was to be up in the morning and get going and make sure your boots were clean. And so we get into the office about 6:30, 6:45, and basically just run through all the horses in the morning, what we're going to do with them, whether it's 2 canters up the gallops or 3 canters, or Dan normally would say, what should we school, what needs jumping this morning, and anything that's running over in the next 2 days would normally school 2 days before or the day before it runs. We'd run through them. We'd check horses that have ran from the day before. Our head lads would bring anything up to the office for Dan to look at, if they weren't quite happy with them, or so we get all that done. And we got staff off racing, so make sure that they've got how many lots they need to ride before they need to go racing, how many lots before I need to go, or how much I can fit in before I can go racing. Generally, just get as much as done as you can, and then you go off to the races, and normally have a cup of coffee on the way, get to the races, and hopefully ride some winners. But it is busy. Like, I love it. I thrive off it. I love work. I'm not one for sitting around, and just sort of, waiting to go off to the races in the morning and have a lie-in this morning, or that's not me. That's not the Skeltons.
You were asking about the number 205 was the magic number.
Well, I thought 204, or 205. That was incredible.
Write it on your hand. Dan may be testing.
Yeah, he will. That was incredible to get that. Like, do you think to churn out that many winners in a season is, it's unbelievable. But that was, again, something he wanted to do, and he did it.
And I was struck by something one of your rivals, Tom Scudamore, said. Dan ran 757, ran in 757 horses this year. And he said, Tom Scudamore, you were given a good hand of cards because Dan's got a tremendous string, but you've still got to play your cards. And I thought that was a very striking thing for a rival to say. Of course, you've got good cards, but you've still got to. You've got to play them properly, and that seems to sum up your season, I think. Yeah,
it was really nice to hear as well. Obviously what Tom Scudamore has said, and I think getting a compliment from your colleagues and your competition is very it's very, very nice to hear, and hopefully we're doing it all the right way. But it doesn't matter what cards you get dealt in life, you need to play them right. And I suppose I had good horses to ride, as well as the numbers to ride. I think the strike, my strike rate was good. For sure. I mean, we all make mistakes. I know when I've made a mistake. Normally got someone telling me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or the channel I've made a mistake, but that's right. That's that side of things. It doesn't affect me. Someone telling me what we're doing, you're useless, or you know what I mean. Because at the end of the day, you need to face your mistakes. You should know when you're making a mistake. And the whole thing is by sort of learning from them, remember what that horse did in a race where it didn't win where it should have won, and when you ride it next time, make sure you don't do it again. That's the difference. And I mean, the cards can be dealt for you, but I suppose he's right. You've got to play them right.
If there was one race from this season which you didn't win that you could wave a magic wand and you could do again, is there one particular race that stands out in your mind?
Oh, you put me on the spot now. I mean, just down sort of the last couple of weeks, I mean, there was a horse I did win on him, but he also should have won two more. And a Head Full of Dreams, towards the last couple of weeks, was a horse that he's a tricky ride. You can't get there too soon on him. But we'd discussed things at Hereford when he ran, and we had a bit, we had a bit of a plan and thought, perhaps he's better off having his race 1-2 out, which he did, and he hit the brakes and pulled himself up. Then he went and won at Plumpton. Then I went back to Plumpton, got nabbed on the line again. I rode him exactly the same as the time before as when he won, but he's definitely one that should have won. Going back through it, I'm sure there's plenty more, Cornelius. We wouldn't have time to talk about all of them.
We'll be retweeting this on Twitter, and it'll be elsewhere on social media. So maybe other people have their own ideas on that one.
I'm sure they will.
Just reflecting on this season, what I think it was, you've said it was one Saturday at Ascot in February when Brian Hughes, the reigning champion, was well clear, but you and Dan decided that there was a chance that you could grab this championship from him. So tell us about that day. It was a horse called Shannon Bridge at Ascot, 20th of February. Form book says one going away. So you're driving home from that. What's the conversation?
He was the horse that just sort of flicked the switch, if you like. Especially on Dan. He had the bit between his teeth then. And I jumped in the car, and myself, Dan, and Tom were on the way home from Ascot, and I said, I'm only 16 behind. It might have been 18 at the time, but and that I suppose, well, people might think, well, that's not that many, but when you've got Cheltenham, Aintree, those sort of meetings, and March is quite a hard, it's a hard month. You've got 4 days at Cheltenham, very competitive racing. Then you got Aintree and Ayr, but that day at Ascot was the day that really, then we thought, right, we need to put things into place now to try and really make sure this happens. And that was Dan. That, he's got, at the end of the day, the horses are under his care, and he pulled some of the summer horses a little bit further forward to make sure we ran them before the season was out. And yeah, that was the day really. The season for the start of the year we were a little bit slow, maybe as years gone by, but we'd very much made a point of it, and Dan made a point of it. We're really trying to lift the quality here at Lodge Hill, and luckily that's happened, but it's still not there yet. We still want to raise the bar on that and get better horses, and try and produce better horses, to make them last, to make them to become the best chasers that they can be, rather than sort of having a hard early career in bumpers, novice hurdles, and sort of running the legs off them before they're really mature and ready for it. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of skill, and a lot of patience from the owners, and from myself and Dan. But yeah, that day at Ascot was the day that we realised this really could be the season. And yeah, once you flick the switch on Dan, he's hard. It's hard to turn it off. He's so determined and driven. And he actually said to me the other day, he said, and after Sandown, he said the next morning he was like a bit lost, really. Couldn't have any. He hasn't got too much to plan. He said, I'm a bit lost, and what am I going to do now? But he'll find, we're back to zero, and that will be on it again.
What have the last few weeks been like? Because I imagine, whether he's a very close friend, your big rival Brian Hughes, or your worst possible enemy, it's quite an interesting dynamic when you're taking each other on, quite often on the same venues, but quite often in different parts of the country as well. So what's it been like?
Yeah, obviously, like throughout the winter, obviously I'd most often be down in the south. Brian was obviously up in the north. We'd cross paths a little bit throughout the season, mainly towards on your weekends, and then also the last few weeks, just with the racing started to thin out a little bit. Venturing up to Sedgefield, Hexham, and those sort of places, it's sort of going up into his territory a little bit, I suppose. You're playing away, you're not playing at home. But he came down to Stratford and various other places and had a couple of winners. And he had a couple of winners at Stratford and beaten us at home. That's it's not ideal, because it's 2 for 1 really. If he beat me in a race that I was second in, it counts for 2. So, we went back up there and got stuck in again, and came out on top at Hexham, and we both draw a blank at Sedgefield, and probably we're both hoping for a winner or two, but it's competitive. And actually, Brian is a fierce competitor, himself. He's a winner. Like he's passionate. He's got great drive. He's focused throughout the year. Takes every ride seriously, and he's a winner himself. And he's been brilliant the whole way through. We've never had a crossword. He keeps himself to himself, and he's a tough man to beat. And I'm sure he'll do everything he can to try and win another title.
Two more quick questions just to round things off. First of all, your dad has won Olympic gold medal as an individual and in a team as well. Was he able to pass on little bits of advice, little bits of encouragement for you as you were having to work pretty hard at one stage to try and get past Brian Hughes, let alone actually take over the lead of the considerable lead in the race to be champion jockey?
Yeah, massively. His experience is, goes back such a long way, and at the highest table as well. And competing at that sort of level for such a long time takes, a lot of experience. And to pass it on, as much as he could. He just said, especially in the last sort of few weeks, that you just have to ride every race as it comes, and ride, move from horse to race, and try not to get ahead of yourself, and just go out there and do what you always do. Try not to try too hard, which is difficult. And when by that means, sometimes trying too hard, you're pressing buttons in races before you should be pressing them, and you'd be getting there a little bit too soon, and just trying to get across the line before it's all over, and rather than sort of just sitting back a bit, give the horse a chance. He just said, just keep calm and just keep doing what you do.
And I imagine that the fact that he's family and you were able to hear that advice from someone who had been a big global winner himself, that gave you extra encouragement.
Yeah, massively. He always, when he went to Rio, he said he visualized winning from a long time before, months before, that he knew that was his last chance, really, of winning an Olympic individual gold. And he visualized the whole way through, right up until the day, every night. He said he visualized winning that gold medal, getting up on the podium and receiving the gold. He knew exactly how it was going to be done. And I suppose, to have that help, and as a father figure as well, is very, you couldn't ask for any more.
So were you visualizing getting that trophy from AP McCoy?
Yeah, I didn't know obviously at the time who it'd be, but you do. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Or you just, every time you get in bed and the closer you get to it, you just want to walk up there, get on the podium, and just hold that trophy, just pick it up, and to do it and have it as reality is very, very special,
And you walk up to receive your trophy through a guard of honour from your fellow riders who are applauding you, hopefully not through gritted teeth, but applauding you. How good did that all feel?
Brilliant, to have all the lads that were there, and all the jockeys that were there, to have them there with, walking through that. It is very, very special. The weighing room is a very, very tight-knit group of people. We all look out for each other. It's a tough sport. It's very hard at times. The ups and downs of sport. It's hard to handle mentally when you're so passionate and driven about something. It's hard to deal with them things. To have them all there, and walk down there, and no, it's an amazing feeling. It really is. And I had a chat with Dickie Johnson actually. He was at Worcester the night before, and he just said, just try and enjoy it as much as you can. It is a great feeling, and I suppose it hasn't really sunk in yet of what it actually, what actually has happened. I suppose it'd be a while before we probably look back and go, we keep saying it to Bridget, and she keeps saying it to me, and you look at the trophy and you just, it's in the house here, and you just walk by it, and I suppose one day when you look back, it'll really sink in then of actually what it was.
And you're joining John Frankham, Peter Scudamore, Richard Dunwoody, AP McCoy, Dickie Johnson, Richard Johnson, who you mentioned. So you are on some pedestal now.
Unbelievable. When you look down and look through the names that are on there, and they're your heroes, growing up. And Woody actually texted me, Richard Dunwoody texted me and congratulated me, and he's good friends with Dad, and he said, hey, and Adrian is as well. Adrian's very good friends with Dad, because they both used to ride.
Adrian Maguire, his big rival.
So they had a ding dong and a head to head, and Woody said, I hope you enjoyed it a bit more than my battle. But to look through the names that are on there, it's just incredible. I mean,
you mentioned Richard Dunwoody there. Actually, just to pick up on that, he actually saw a sports psychiatrist at the time. It really got into his head, trying to hold off Adrian Maguire. Did it ever really get into your head?
It gets in your head because it is there. It's there. So what you're trying to achieve. But I was always, the whole way through, even though the last few weeks, I was always happy with how I was handling it. I never felt that you're under pressure, but you're only under. I'm lucky that Dan puts no added pressure to me. The owners don't put any added pressure. I'd put more pressure on myself, I suppose, than anything else. But I had the people around me, Bridget, my dad, my brother, to handle it right. Tom Messenger, up at Hexham for 2 days. We went from Ayr to Hexham to Sedgefield. To have those people around you and just to talk to, and just I was happy I was in the position I was in, because it's something I was always trying to achieve, and I'd much rather have been there than be going into the last week 20 behind, or the last fortnight 20 behind, and actually realistically being so close but actually having no chance. I'd struggle more with that than actually getting really close, and than being in no contention at all. But it is mentally, it's very, very difficult. And a lot of people actually messaged me months, a month, 6 weeks before it was getting really tight, and just actually said, it's the mental side of things that is where you can win it. And I was lucky that I got good people around me to help me through all that.
And if there was one moment from the season, one race, one horse, one moment that you could pick out as being the highlight of your fabulous season, what would you pick out?
I would say Sandown, the Tingle Creek meeting, to have a double grade one in the space of 40 minutes, was very, very special. The Hales family have been, so supportive of our family for such a long time. To ride them, a grade one winner on Politolog, who's Politolog's been very, very good to me. And then on to All Mankind for Dan, and another grade one, and it's what you always dream of doing. It's what you used to watch Ruby do that, and you think, oh, look at that, I'd love to do that one day. But once you had a taste of something, you just want it more. I don't know, it's a hard thing to sort of explain. And you just, that day was very special.
Once you have a taste for it, you say it's something very special, hard to explain. What about then the championship of the season starting imminently 2021-22. What are your ambitions for the upcoming season?
Well, unfortunately, I've got a bit of a ban for the first week that I picked up, so I've got to sit that out. So Bridget will be riding. She'll be in front of me, I expect. Hopefully
and enjoying it.
Yeah, hopefully not for too long. That's where I'm really lucky as well. Like I'm, that's another thing is that where I'm really lucky is that whatever I don't ride, Bridget will be riding anyway. So I want them to win as much, as much from myself when I'm riding them as, as I, for her when she's riding them, and for Dan, and they're very lucky to have that. If someone else was riding them, it'd be a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I mean, then we're all on zero. Anyone can win it, and hopefully keep in one piece. Try as hard as we possibly can, and take day to day, and just I try and ride as many winners as I can. And yeah, I mean, the quality is coming through. I mean, I'm looking forward to my Drogo, going chasing. All Mankind just keeps answering all them people that keep knocking him. He's been fantastic. He's going to go up into open company. Obviously next year it's going to be harder again, but he owes us absolutely nothing. And obviously to try and defend the title would that is something obviously that I'll be definitely trying to do. But I think you have to be realistic that you need to keep in one piece, have a good clear run at things, and you come out of Christmas, hopefully you're in a good chance. You've got a good chance then, and then you chant them out of the way, and then put the foot to the floor then, and try and defend the title for sure is something that's right up there. Hopefully the quality's coming through all the time as well, and try and win as many good races as we can.
Well, you certainly had a good clear run for the 2020-21 season. Is that trophy behind you heavy? Can you pick it up and
Is it
heavy? Can you pick it up? Just as everyone at Grosvenor Sport would love to congratulate you on that. Yeah. And that's a great shot to see with you. Big smile as well. Congratulations from everybody. A really memorable season, a great achievement for you and for your brother Dan, and for your dad and the whole team. So congratulations from all of us, and best of luck in the new season.
Thank you very much.